Can I advance without competition? There is something almost gravitational about the way human consciousness gets drawn into competitive frameworks. From the earliest moments of childhood, who can run faster, who gets better grades, who receives more attention, we learn to measure progress through comparison with others. The mind develops a sophisticated mathematics of relative positioning. I am ahead or behind, winning or losing, superior or inferior. But observe what actually happens to human development within competitive systems. A student excels in mathematics, not because they love numbers, but because they want to rank higher than their classmates. The joy of discovery becomes secondary to the satisfaction of surpassing others. Years later, they may find themselves skilled at mathematical computation, but disconnected from the wonder that originally drew them to the subject. This reveals something profound about motivation and authentic development. When advancement becomes primarily about defeating others, the activity itself often becomes instrumental rather than intrinsic. We do things not for the inherent value of doing them, but for the relative advantage they provide. But what happens when we remove the competitive framework entirely? When progress is measured not against others, but against our own previous understanding or capacity. Watch a child learning to walk. They don't look around to see how their walking compares to other children's walking. They don't feel shame when they fall or pride when they succeed. They simply engage with the natural process of developing mobility, driven by curiosity and the pleasure of movement itself. Each step is not a victory over other children, but an exploration of possibility. This suggests that advancement and learning may be natural processes that occur more efficiently, without competitive pressure, than with it. The interesting thing about competition is how it can actually inhibit the very development it claims to promote. When someone is focused on being better than others, attention gets divided between the activity itself and the social positioning. Energy goes toward managing appearance, calculating strategy, and monitoring others' progress rather than full engagement with learning. There are environments where remarkable development occurs without competitive structures. In certain artistic communities, musicians collaborate and share knowledge freely, understanding that one person's improvement enhances everyone's experience. The advancement of each individual contributes to the elevation of the whole group. Similarly, in some traditional apprenticeship systems, learning happens through imitation, practice, and gradual refinement without any need to surpass others. The focus remains on mastery of the craft itself rather than ranking among practitioners. But modern educational and professional systems are largely built on competitive models. Grades, rankings, promotions, performance reviews, all create hierarchical structures where advancement requires someone else to be left behind. We learn to see others' success as evidence of our own inadequacy, and our success as proof of others' inferiority. This conditioning runs so deep that the idea of non-competitive advancement can seem naive or unrealistic. Without competition, the mind argues, how would we measure progress? How would we maintain motivation? How would excellence emerge? But observe what actually motivates the most profound human achievements. The scientist who makes a breakthrough discovery is rarely thinking about surpassing other scientists. They are absorbed in the fascination of understanding itself. The artist creating their masterpiece is not calculating how their work compares to others. They are expressing something that demands expression. The deepest human motivations, curiosity, creativity, love, the desire to understand, the impulse to contribute, these operate independently of competitive frameworks. They arise from engagement with life itself rather than from the need to position oneself relative to others. This is not to suggest that all comparison is harmful, or that awareness of others' capabilities is meaningless. Observing skilled practitioners can inspire learning and provide useful models. The question is whether we can learn from others without needing to defeat them, whether we can appreciate excellence without requiring ourselves to excel beyond everyone else. Perhaps true advancement is like a tree growing toward light. The tree doesn't compete with other trees for sunlight, it simply grows in the direction of what nourishes it. If it grows tall, it's not because it defeated other trees, but because it followed its own nature toward nourishment. From this perspective, Advancement becomes collaboration with life rather than competition against others. Progress is measured by engagement, understanding, skill, contribution, joy in the activity, not by relative position in an artificial hierarchy. The person who advances without competition often develops more sustainably because their motivation comes from internal rather than external sources. They don't burn out from the exhaustion of constant comparison. They don't lose enthusiasm when others achieve recognition. Their development continues because it's driven by a genuine interest rather than competitive anxiety. This approach often leads to more authentic excellence because attention remains focused on the activity itself rather than divided between the activity and social positioning. Without the distraction of competition, there can be deeper engagement, more creative exploration, more genuine mastery. But this requires a fundamental shift in how we understand progress and value. It means deriving satisfaction from engagement itself rather than from surpassing others. It means measuring growth against our own previous capacity rather than against others' current performance. Can you imagine learning something new without comparing your progress to anyone else's? Can you develop skills simply because the development itself is satisfying? Can you advance in understanding not to be superior to others, but because understanding is inherently valuable? In the space between competitive striving and passive stagnation, something more organic emerges. A natural development that follows its own rhythm, guided by intrinsic motivation rather than external positioning. What is this advancement that needs no victory over others? This progress that requires no competition, this excellence that emerges not from defeating anyone, but from the pure joy of engaging fully with life itself?